I'm Sherilyn Skolnicki, and this is Brilliant Balance, the show for working women who are ready to shine. Each week, I bring you ideas, inspiration, and insight on balance, business, and getting it all done gracefully. You ready? Let's be brilliant. This is episode 211. Are you at war with your body? I want to open this episode with a statistic that's honestly pretty shocking. It's been reported that 97% of women think intensely negative thoughts about their bodies at least once a day. 97%, people. That is almost everyone. And that's my question for you today. Do you fall into that 97%? Are you at war with your body? And I'll share with you, and I've shared this before on the podcast, I was for many years someone who would identify with that statement. Some days, candidly, I still am. And so many women in our community and in the listeners of this podcast are too. I mean, if that statistic holds of 97%, again, it's almost everyone. And honestly, it's not surprising because society tells us that we should be. Essentially, it glorifies this notion of being at war with our bodies, of seeing them as the enemy. And really, we bond over it. This is a huge way that we build connection with other women. So I want to talk about a couple of things today. I want to give you 4 paradigms that you might find yourself in if you relate to this statement of being at war with your body. And I'm going to get into them in some detail. And then what I want to do is talk about how those make us feel and how we actually want to feel. And then I want to share a practice that maybe would help us take one step in that direction, a practice that has a lot of benefits that are being reported. And I think this is still kind of an under-publicized concept, so I'm going to shine a light on it today with you. All right, so if you are at war with your body, I have come up with 4 governing paradigms that you might find yourself in. These are 4 ways that you might relate to your body as somewhat separate from yourself. And guess what? Not surprisingly, all of these have conflict really at their core. So the first one is, and I think this is the one that probably I related to the most for the most number of years, is thinking of your body as like an art project that you can't quite get right. You know, remember when you were in grade school and the art teacher would assign a project? Now, if you were great at art, you might want to skip this one. I was never great at art. I was very average sort of kid around art. And when that teacher would assign a project, it never felt like it turned out quite right. You know, I had this picture in my mind of what I wanted that paper mache model or that watercolor painting or those stupid pastels, to look like. And I could never quite get there. It felt like everyone else's was turning out better. Like I had this image in my mind and I just couldn't get the materials to comply. I couldn't get them to deliver the image on the medium in the same way that it was in my mind. And man, that is exactly what it sometimes feels like in our bodies, that we feel like our body is this art project and we can't ever get it quite right. So we're always focused on what's wrong or what needs to be fixed or what didn't turn out the way we meant it to. And we're therefore always perfecting, always fussing, always kind of trying to tweak elements of our appearance. And sometimes we feel like our art project should be hidden away. It's amateur, it's imperfect, it's not really what we meant. So let's just get this thing home already and put it on a shelf or put it in the back of a drawer where we don't have to have anybody else looking at it and judging it. And I wonder if that is resonant with you today as you listen. Do you ever find that you see your body as an art project, as something that you just can't quite get right? The second paradigm you might find yourself in is as though your body were a rebellious child that you had to control. It's that kid who's just not following your rules. And therefore, you have to handle it with punishment or with deprivation. right? You're always kind of sweating it out, trying to get it in line so that it doesn't embarrass you. Because what will people think, right? It can't be trusted. It's sort of unpredictable. It has to be watched very closely. It needs rules, lots and lots of rules to follow. And you just sort of never know what it might do. And whatever it might do or however it might show up could be very embarrassing. So picture yourself, if you have kids, maybe you're shopping at Target or you're at the mall and that child starts acting up. And you just feel yourself starting to sweat. You're like, oh my God, who's going to see this? What are they going to think of me? They're going to think I don't have it together. I can't even control my child. And I think that's how a lot of us think about our bodies is, what are people going to think of me? If I can't even control my own body, right? There's so much shame and so much embarrassment around this entity that we feel like we kind of have responsibility for, and yet we're not able to get it to do or be what we want it to do or be. So that's the second paradigm, is as though your body is this sort of rebellious or tantruming child that you have to control. There's a lot of punishment and a lot of deprivation involved in that model, right? A lot of control. Third paradigm you might find yourself in is that your body could be like the playground bully who taunts you. So it feels like your body could show up sort of at unexpected times and threaten you. And the way I think about this is when you catch your reflection in a mirror or a window or, the entrance door of a store, and you're sort of like, oh God, there it is again, right? Taunting me. Or it demands things of you. Like it has cravings and it demands that you give into them, or desires. And they're antithetical to what you might really say you want or what you believe might be good, but it has these demands that come in like a bully, right? And so what do we do with bullies? Well, we try to hide from them. We try to avoid them. So if you find that you avoid mirrors or you avoid your own reflection or looking down at your body, from your vantage point, that's a good sign that you might be falling into this paradigm where there's a level of fear, right? Your body scares you. It's threatening you. It makes you feel less than. And you feel like it is in control of you. If your body shows up and tells you what it wants, you are afraid that you are going to give in. I can remember talking about a plate of chocolate chip cookies this way, a plate of sort of freshly baked chocolate chip cookies, and thinking, man, if my body decides it wants those, I'm going to have no control. I'm going to have to give it whatever it wants. So that notion of feeling like your body is bullying you, kind of popping out at unexpected times, what you're getting into is a pattern of hiding from or avoiding, right? All references to your body. You want to forget that it exists so you can have a little bit of safety and security. And the fourth one is really probably the most aggressive. This would be like a wartime enemy, right? Where your body is volatile, it's dangerous, it's out to get you, it's ready to take you down, right? It's really something to be feared. And you might even start to feel like your body and, in air quotes, the real you have mutually exclusive goals or interests, that you are moving in opposite directions. It's sort of a win-lose situation. If you win, it loses. If your body wins, you lose. And that cycle of feeling, again, a lot of fear, a lot of need to sort of hide out, that sense of there's a level of unpredictability or volatility here. Anything could happen and I could end up destroyed. My whole life could be taken under by something that my body does, right? Or the way that it looks or what people think of it. So that fourth paradigm you might find yourself in is that wartime enemy. So the four that I talked about are, an art project that you can't get right, where you're kind of in the driver's seat, but you just can't get it the way you want. That rebellious or tantruming child that you can't control and you want to control it. You have to control it. The third is the playground bully who's taunting you or making demands of you. And the fourth would be a really strategic and powerful wartime enemy. Like you are at all-out war all the time. You are constantly thinking about, constantly strategizing, how am I going to win? So I want you to take a breath. because that's a lot, and ask yourself, do you recognize yourself in any of these patterns of relating to your body? And if you do, how does that pattern make you feel? And I think if you take a beat, maybe even hit pause for a second and come back, these 4 relationships that I just outlined are really governed by 2 emotions. The first 2, the art project and the rebellious or tantruming child, are more about shame, right? They're more about embarrassment of, I didn't get this right. What are people going to think? And the second 2 are really more about fear. Something bad can happen. I am afraid. I feel out of control. I feel constantly worried or threatened. And none of those, whether it's shame or fear, gives you the one thing you really deserve in your body, and that's peace. Because when we're at war with our bodies, when we're treating them like the enemy in any of these frameworks, there is no peace. There's no acceptance and, much less any joy or compassion. If we could figure out how to be proud of the art project, or embrace that child as our own, or unmask the bully, or negotiate peace with the enemy, sort of a ceasefire, what would be different, right? What would be possible? Any number of things. I think it's what all of us really yearn for at our core, is that sense of peace with these bodies we are in. Do you ever find yourself saying, I just need a minute to breathe? While the whole idea of meditation can sound totally intimidating, I've found that stepping away from the chaos of life, even just for a few minutes, is incredibly restorative. So if you're short on time, but could use a few moments of peace right about now, listen to my 5-minute meditation for working moms. It'll help you clear your head and come back to your day feeling centered and refreshed. Head over to brilliant-balance.com/breathe. Press play and settle in for a few mini moments of peace right now. So I want to talk now about how do we get there, right? What is one small step we can take? What is one practice we can adopt that might move us in the direction of peace? And I want to talk about body neutrality. Body neutrality. Now, you might be more familiar with the body positivity movement, right? This is the idea that I will love my body no matter what. I will embrace it and just honor it and love it. And I feel like sometimes that feels really far away if you are in a cycle of body hatred, right? Or war with your body. So body neutrality, if there is a continuum from body hatred through neutrality to maybe body appreciation or acceptance before you get to body love, right? Or body positivity, I want to focus on that first step, which is body neutrality. So what is that? It's really, body neutrality is about accepting your body as it is in terms of all the things, size, shape, ability, right? And then kind of moving on with your day. It's getting to a place where you're objective about what your body does for you, what it can do, and remove some of the emphasis on appearance. And I think, again, body love, body positivity get all the play, right? They're getting it. There are movements about these things. We see them on Instagram or Facebook or in pop culture, but body neutrality has been less talked about. And yet I'm going to argue it's the more powerful starting point. So just getting there, just even taking that one step has a ton of benefits around our mental health. How do we feel day in and day out? And I want to talk about a few. There's a website called Very Well Mind, and that website had a list of benefits for body neutrality that I found very insightful. So I've sort of paraphrased from it here. The first is when we are adopting body neutrality as our sort of posture toward our body, immediately we move into less judgment and more empathy. Less judgment, more empathy, both for ourselves and for others. Because look, what happens when you're in a cycle of judging your own body? You judge everyone else's, right? And when you don't have any empathy for yourself, you don't have empathy for others either. So immediately you can move out of judgment into sort of objective acceptance. And that can breed empathy for what does my body actually need? Second benefit, Lower stress. I mean, y'all, it is stressful to constantly be hating something. And when you decide to accept your body as it is for what it's able to do and stop relentlessly thinking about how it should be different, your stress level just goes down, right? It makes so much sense that that would make it easier to feel happier or more relaxed. Third thing, a little less predictable, is enhanced intuition. So when we are constantly trying to control our bodies, we are turning off our intuition. That sense of knowingness of what does my body need, right? Am I hungry? Am I tired? Do I need to rest? Do I need to move? Do I need to dance like a maniac around, my kitchen? Do I need to go for a long walk? All of those things are available to us through our intuition, that knowingness of what do I need. But when we are constantly overriding that as it relates to our body and doing what we think we should do or what we have to do, then our intuition sort of gets dimmed. So when you bring that back online and you start paying attention to and objectively noticing your body, then your intuition in other areas of life sort of turns back on as well, right? You sort of reconnect with that sense of intuition, which is very powerful. Fourth thing is lower anxiety, right? Moving to body neutrality reduces anxiety by not constantly spending time thinking about how you're not doing it right, how your body's not getting it right. I mean, you're just provoking anxiety over and over again. So when you can experience less anxiety about your body, you may actually find that you're less anxious overall, right? It's one sort of cesspool of anxiety that we can get sucked into. And then the last one is improved mood. Because honestly, if thinking about your body negatively is taking up a lot of headspace, the chances are you aren't in the best mood when you're doing that. I know it would wreck my day. It would wreck hours and hours of days if I was in a cycle of really being critical of my body. So it can be tough to get yourself in a good mood when you're focused on that, even if everything else going on in your world is okay. We get sort of myopic vision on this one area of life. So that whole idea of your body not being perfect enough can ruin a whole day for some of us. And so having less thought about that, right? Moving into neutrality as our posture toward our body can really improve our mood overall. So think about it. Less judgment, right? Less judgment, more empathy, lower stress, enhanced intuition, lower anxiety, improved mood. Like, who doesn't want that? And if the simple tactic of shifting from body hatred to body neutrality gets us there, if that one shift on that continuum can make that big of a difference, isn't it worth trying? It reminds me a lot of the practices of mindfulness. Mindfulness is really about noticing what is without judgment, right? It's 55 degrees Fahrenheit today. I'm wearing a sweater. I have dim light in this room, right? There's no judgment. There is simply a noticing of what is. As soon as I get into why is it so freezing today, right? Why is the light in this room not brighter? Now we're applying judgment to the situation, right? Anything that is about a value statement applies judgment. So this notion of body neutrality really has a lot of similarities to mindfulness in just noticing. No judgment. It just is what it is. And one tactic that can be helpful as you're adopting a new approach like body neutrality, or really any kind of mindset pattern that you're trying to reset, is to find a phrase that you can use to bring yourself back to the essence of the practice when you start to stray from it. So in other words, if you want to adopt body neutrality, but you have a long history of body hatred, your set point is kind of over toward hatred. It's over toward being at war. And so what we want to figure out is, how do we move that needle routinely back in the direction of neutrality? And one way to do that is to use like a mantra or a phrase that you can jot down somewhere that you'll see it when you're feeling those familiar feelings of shame or of fear start to creep in. So I'm going to share a few with you as I close this episode, and you might want to adopt one of these as your own. You might want to write one that's different, but I think these are all body neutral mantras. They're from Beyond Beautiful Book, an Instagram account that I think you might find valuable. The first is, I am more than my appearance. The way I look is just one of many facets that make me me. My worth and lovability do not depend on my looks. I'm worthy for a ton of other reasons. My appearance is going to shape shift a million times throughout my life. Sometimes I'll find myself more attractive, sometimes less so, and that's okay. I don't need to feel attractive at all times to be happy and live my best life. Looking and feeling attractive are not gatekeepers to my happiness. I loved those. Here's one more. My appearance is the least interesting thing about me. And my wish for all of us is that we would be at peace in these bodies that are carrying us through life. And I hope what I shared today helps you take just one step in that direction. If you have been at war with your body for a very long time, maybe today is the day you take just one step in the direction of peace and pick up one of these body neutrality mantras or phrases, put it someplace where you're going to see it and be reminded of it when those thoughts start to creep in, and move one small step toward just noticing the body that you have and how it carries through this life that you're living. If you want to continue the discussion with me and with other women in the Brilliant Balance community, make sure you join us on Facebook. There's a group called Brilliant Balance. Come find us and we'll welcome you into that group. And subscribe to the weekly. You'll get all the things that we publish in a week, the video broadcasts, the blog posts, the podcast itself. Go to brilliant-balance.com/weekly. Get yourself subscribed and you will hear from us at your digital doorstep every Tuesday morning. That is all for today, my friends. Till next time, let's be brilliant.
This is thepodcastfactory.com.